We are going to preview the AFC South and the AFC West. We're going to go through all the over-unders for those 8 teams. We did this yesterday with the AFC East and the North. I'm agreeing with Harry too much with these, so I'm a little worried. So I have to change some of these up. I've done all summer's worth of research on all these teams. Well, let's get it started. AFC South, Colts 9.5. Over is -160. Look, I don't like this division. I really haven't in years. I think it's, and you could say what you want. Maybe it's better than the NFC East, the division I root for, but it just shows me nothing. It really doesn't. Like, those bottom 2 teams are lame. Everybody's teal. I don't want to pick. I think the winner of this division, I think, is 9-8. I have the Colts at 9-8, so I'm going to go under. Gus Bradley jumps in. I'm trying to look at their day. They lose Eberfloss. Gus Bradley is a defensive coordinator. He's 33 years experience. They send Carson Wentz to Washington for a 2022 third and a 23 conditional. Then they trade for Matt Ryan, who's 37 years old. Bri, they traded Rock Ya-Sin for Yannick Ngakoue, right? He had 10 sacks for Vegas last year. I get that's a step up, I think. They signed Gilmore from Carolina, Stephon Gilmore. That's a step up. They draft this Alec Pierce, who might just be their number 2 receiver. Like, they're in a lot of trouble receiver wise. It's pretty ugly for them if Pittman goes down or one of those guys. Defensively, DeForest Buckner, number 3 ranked. They have Pay, and as I said, Ngakoue is good. That'll be good at pass rush. You got to like their defense. Same with the Titans. I like their defense too. I just, and I get it, Jonathan Taylor, how much you want to run him into the ground. I don't know. I don't see them sweeping any of the Texans. I don't see them sweeping any of the who's the other bad team? Jaguars. They play the AFC West, which is tough. I know Damashek says, the AFC South, that whoever wins that division, just like last year, could have the best record in football. I don't buy it this year. Lawrence is a year older. Davis Mills is a year more experienced, and they played that AFC West. So I think the winner of this goes 9-8. I think the Colts will go 9-8. They open at Houston and at Jacksonville. Their extra games are at New England, Pittsburgh, and at Minnesota. They have 7 straight versus the AFC to start. I am going 9-8 Colts, so give me under 9.5. Harry, you're disagreeing with me, which is good. Might be the first time since we've gone over these.
Yeah, this is a tough one, but I'm going to have them at 10 wins. Ryan, one more shot at a winner, but when you talk about Indy, it all starts with Jonathan Taylor. 20 total touchdowns last year, 2,000 yards. Guys, he's incredibly durable. If you date back his last 5 seasons playing at Wisconsin, last 5 seasons, 4 of them, he's had 2,000 or more yards. It's amazing to be able to think that somebody's capable of doing that in today's day and age. But Phillip Lindsay, they got Nyheim Hines, very reliable. Other weapons for Indy in the backfield. Michael Pittman had 1,100 yards. I think Ryan's going to be really, he's going to love Pittman this season. It's a team that's won 5 road games, 2 seasons in a row, so they're pretty tough on the road. 9 wins last year.
They weren't tough when I needed them to be tough on the road against the Jaguars.
Man.
Sons of bitches.
Right. Yeah, but not still 9 wins last year with Wentz, and Ryan, even at 37, is better than Wentz. I think they battle, like you said, Tennessee for the division, but I think I don't know if they win the division. I kind of like them for it too, but I think they get to 10 wins.
All right. I don't know. Again, I might just be still pissed at them about that blown loss there. Matt Ryan, I think that's a wash, Ryan, for Wentz right there. I just hate these receivers. I really don't know where the offense is going to come from unless you just pound Jonathan Taylor. Pittman, Pierce, and Paris Campbell is amongst the worst trio. And who is the tight end? Mo Alley Cox? I don't know. I'll stick with the under. Again, I'm not high on this division, and I actually have them and Tennessee at 9-8. I have the Colts winning the division on a tiebreaker. We'll get to that. The Titans, 12-5 last year. 9.5 is their over/under. -135, leaning towards the under. Vrabel in his 5th year. They trade AJ Brown to Philly. They trade for Robert Woods, which I think is good. He's obviously as good a blocking wide receiver as you can. For a 6th rounder, that's excellent, I would say. They drafted Treylon Burks to help, that wide receiver for Arkansas, to help what they got going on at wide receiver. Malik Willis seems like a steal. I don't know. He's fine in the preseason. They got him late in the 3rd round. They lose Saffold. They lose Quessenberry. They lose Julio Jones. They get Austin Hooper, the tight end. They re-signed Harold Landry, who was 12 sacks last year, a dominant player, 5 for $87 million. Their defense played well second half of the year. Both these teams, the Colts and the Titans, for the most part, their defense plays well. They have Jeffrey Simmons as a blue chipper at defensive end. Kevin Byard, number 1 ranked with 5 interceptions for a strong safety. They open against the Giants. Their extra games are tough at Buffalo, Cincy, and at Green Bay. They play Indy twice in 3 weeks, so that's going to be interesting. And if they can get to the end, they're looking in decent shape. They play the Jags twice and the Texans all in a 5-week span. But I think it all spells out 9-8. I'm not excited about it, and I'm going under. Parlay Kid, I think you agree with me here.
I concur with you here, Sal. Yeah, 9. We're looking at a regression here for the Titans. Sal, they were 6-1 in games decided by 3 points or less last year. That's most likely not going to happen again, to see that type of record in those close games. So I think that's where we're going to see the regression. I like the under here. Getting rid of A.J. Brown, to me, really made me think that, is this team serious about winning football games this year? I'm not really sure if they are serious. I know they brought Woods in, but he's coming off a major injury here, Sal. So I'm not sure if you can really rely on him to be your number 1 receiver. We talked about the Colts receivers. Boy, the Titans might be worse off than the Colts are. Tannehill regressed. I'm a Tannehill guy. I like Tannehill. He regressed, especially towards the second half of the season last year. I think they witnessed that, the Titans, and that's why they drafted Willis. And obviously a lot of the cap space is spent on Tannehill. I don't think he is want to be on this team very much longer after this year. So I'm not sure what the Titans are trying to do. I just don't think they're going to be very good this year. But in this division, you don't have to be great. At Green Bay, at Philly, at Chargers, at KC, at Buffalo. That spells 5 losses for this team this year, right there off the right there. So I don't see them getting to 10 wins here. They're going under 9.5, Sal.
I think you're right. Yeah, and look, it didn't get better for them. It's not going to get better than it was last year, right? I get it. Derrick Henry got hurt, but they still won 12 games. They was still the number 1 seed. Derrick Henry was back. Tannehill, what did he do, Brian? His first pick, his first pass of the half, his last pass of the half, the first pass of the second half, last play, they're like all interceptions. I mean, they sacked Burrow 9 times. This is you can't be excited about this team going forward, because they had it right in the palm of their hand and they blew it. And like, what has to happen for this team to win? And especially if they've downgraded at wide receiver now with A.J. Brown and an aging Derrick Henry. So we're in step there, Parlay Kid, with the under. Now the Jaguars, 3-14 last year, 6.5 is their over under. The under is -135. I'm going to go under here. I really hate this division. I don't believe in Doug Peterson, his first year here. They overpaid for everyone. They brought in a bunch of average players like Christian Kirk. They gave him $72 million, and that got the carousel going, right? With wide receivers getting paid big money. Zay Jones, even 3 for $24 million. Even Evan Ingram on a $9 million deal is crazy. They bring in Brandon Scherf on the offensive line. That's a good move. They get the linebacker from Atlanta, Olawokun. He led the league in tackles. That's a good swap from Miles Jack, I will say. They lost DJ Chark. Travis at the end returning, but we've not seen him play a game, right? And he's already banged up. Is that right? So you're looking at the 26th best offensive line. That's ranked this year. 28th rated receivers. Boy, the receivers just suck in this division, right? They really do.
Really bad.
Then they draft Trayvon Walker, who never was all conference or all anything. For all the Georgia players to pick from, they take him because he had a nice he had a nice camp there. And Devin Lloyd, the linebacker, was potentially one of the best linebackers in the class. But I don't know. Again, a team going if they go from 3 to 6 wins, if they double their wins, they're still under. And that's where I have them. They start at Washington. That's the Wentz revenge game, because he lost in the playoffs. 3 of the first 4 on the road. They play Denver and London. Their extra 3 are at the Jets, the Ravens, and at Detroit. And then week 13 to 17, again, same kind of soft schedule on the back end. Lions, Jets, and Texans in that 5-week span. I'm going under here, under 6.5. Brother Bri, you might like an exact number here, huh?
Yeah, I mean, I was looking at the same thing. I mean, I'm looking at the under 6.5, but I also looked exactly at 6 at plus 550. I mean, like the Jaguars, they're going to be better, right? I mean, last year was a nightmare with Urban. Lawrence is going to be better. So far, he looks, pretty good in the preseason. Their line's going to be better, but like you said, the problem is some of these skill guys, they're wide receivers. They don't have a clear number one. A lot of these guys are 2 and 3s. They're solid. They're solid, some of those. I mean, Zay Jones is really like a fourth guy. Maybe he'll make a big catch once in a while. But I do think the biggest problem with them is going to be on the defensive side of the ball. I'm not sure they fixed enough holes on that defense. And, with that draft pick of Walker, like maybe he's going to end up being good. Probably not necessarily this year. They seem to reach for him. So I just don't think that was a great pick. I will say the saving grace, if you do like the over here, I mean, it's not going to be, there's never a better time if you like the over, because they play their crappy division, right? And then you play the NFC East and you play the Jets and Detroit. So like you're never going to get an
But they do play
group.
the West teams, right?
Right.
So won't they go 0-4? They'll probably go 1-3 or
right.
0-4.
So that's the problem. The middle of the schedule is brutal because they go in a row. They go Denver, Vegas, Kansas City, Baltimore.
Yeah.
So that's where it's really tough. But when you're looking at, you have between the division, there's kind of 12 winnable games when you look at the division, NFC East, Jets, and Detroit. So I do think they improve. I think Lawrence is significantly better, but I still think 6 is probably the right number.
I mean, I just can't believe. Yeah, everybody has a good wide receiver these days, and I'm looking now. We just previewed 3 teams in the AFC South. Who is the best? The top. If you look at the depth chart, Pittman, Pierce,
Brandon
Campbell,
Cooks,
Woods, Traylon Burks. Yeah, it might be one we didn't mention yet.
I feel like Pittman will be
Kirk,
drafted.
Marvin Jones, Zay Jones, LaVisca, Chenault. Everybody loves Chenault.
Pittman's going to be drafted the highest. Pittman's going to be drafted the highest, right, in fantasy.
Jeez.
Brian, figure it out. Lawrence is your MVP. Figure it out.
Well, Harry, Sal asked us who at 75 to 1 or better has a shot. I mean, he could have a phenomenal year. I mean, still better than the Kelsey pick.
I don't think it is, but
well, Harry, we'll get to you. I mean, I don't know how much you love Kansas City. I think I don't want to, bury the lead here, but you're taking them under 10. I don't know how is Kelsey going to win MVP if they win 8 games, but we'll get to that. And so you're right. That leaves the Texans. 4-13 last year. Their over under is 4.5, which is split down the middle. The over is minus 110. I have them going 5-12. I can't take all unders here, right? You got Lovie Smith in there. Lovie Smith, 92-90 career-wise record. No defensive coordinator. It's going to be him. They got Pep Hamilton at number 1, offensive coordinator. Watson gone, obviously. Signed for $320 million. They got 3 first-round picks. They've kind of shed the Bill O'Brien thing. I still rebuilding, of course, but on the upside, I think of rebuilding. If you look at Davis Mills, he was like the second best rookie quarterback last year, especially in the last 5 starts. He had a 102 passer rating, which puts him amongst the best just overall. They had Steven Nelson, the cornerback from Philly. They gave him $99 million. They get him $49 million. But AJ Cann, the guard from Jacksonville, Mario Addison from Buffalo is there. They have Marlon Mack now. They lose Justin Reed and Ty Taylor. They did well in the draft, I think. Derek Stingley, the cornerback from LSU. They got the big offensive lineman, Kenyon Green from A&M, and John Mechie, who is banged up already. We're not going to see him for a while. The wide receiver, Alabama, he tore his ACL. They have a bye in week 6. They have the Colts to start. That'd be a fun upset right there. Their extra games at Miami, Cleveland, and at Chicago. They have 1 home game. I'm trying to look at their schedule, the quirky stuff. From September 12th to 10/29, they have 1 home game. So that could bury them early on, but not expected from them. They're over-unders 4.5. I don't think they get swept, like I said, by the Colts or the Titans, and certainly not the Jaguars. So you got some wins there, and you get some easy games in there, against the NFC East. I have them winning 5. I'm going over here. Parlay Kid, I have them over. You're going under.
Sal, at first glance, I wanted to go over here. When I started writing some of my notes down, I said I'm going Houston over, just based on the way they kind of finished last year. I did like Davis Mills. better than most. I thought he finished the year pretty strong. He had a win over the Chargers late in the season last year. But I couldn't find 5 wins for this team, Sal. I could not find 5 wins. I don't know where they're coming from. So I know, like we talked about the receivers.
They had
Brandon
4
Cooks.
last year. They were terrible, and they had 4 last year. I think they can get 2. They'll get 2 in the division.
I'm not sure if they're going to be better this year. I think this is the one team where, like Brian said, Jacksonville, I think, made some improvements. I'm not really sure where Houston got a lot better. They took a safety with the 3rd pick in the draft. I'm not sure if that's always the wisest thing to do right there, especially in a team in rebuilding mode. Marlon Mack is going to be their featured running back. It's just more of the same for these Texans. Everybody who's playing the Texans has them scheduled as a must win on their schedule, right? That's like must win. I could not find 5 wins. I wanted to go over. I couldn't find it, Sal. I have to take the under here, take the under 4.5. This team's going to end up with 3 or 4 wins again. And the hiring of Lovie Smith, guys, we can admit, was laughable. Yeah. And so you gave his pro record.
I can't
you
believe
should have given his college record too.
Yeah, I know.
Way better than Illinois, though, Darren. Way better than Illinois.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I was saying. I mean, I like the guy. I think he's a good guy. But what was that hire about? That's not a team that's serious about winning football games. If they hire Lovie Smith right there, that made no sense. I actually thought they played hard under the coach last year. I'm not sure that's going to happen this year. So Houston under.
He has been to more Super Bowls than Garrett, though, Darren.
You're going to find me arguing for Jason Garrett, Harry?
Just saying.
If he's just saying, there's no way to win an argument with a guy who's always just saying. Just remember that. just sit back. What are you gonna do? Lick your wounds. I'm just looking at. I think they win 2 in the division. I mean, they beat Jacksonville to start the year last year, and then they won at Tennessee. Actually, they beat Jacksonville twice, which is how Jacksonville was able to pick so high. But let's even give them 2. I like them winning at Chicago. I just think it's going to be a disaster. And then I have them. I have them beating Philly and home against Washington. So I don't know. That's where it's 5. It's probably 4 or 5. I went over there. All right. So let's just go division wise. Do we all like the Colts here? No, I like the Colts. Again, I took the sissy way out. I think 9-8 for the Colts, 9-8 for the Titans. And then the Colts win on a tiebreaker. So that's my pick for the division. And they're minus 124. You can get the Titans plus 170, Jags plus 750, and the Texans at 25-1. So Colts is my pick. Parlay Kid, you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, the Colts are my pick too, and I'm not in love with that pick. But like you're saying, I think this is a division. You're going to get a 9-win team out of it. And you know how I feel about Matt Ryan, Sal. I'm certainly not in favor of Matt Ryan. So
I've just
me
lost
to say
so
the
much
Colts,
money betting on all these guys, the Tannehills, the Ryans,
my gosh,
just
everybody. But Matt Ryan, I think, can give them what Phil Rivers gave them a couple years back, which was good enough. And is Reich the best coach in this division? Maybe I gotta say Vrabel's right up there too. But
is this 5 quarterbacks for Reich in 5 years? I think it is, right? It was Luck, Brissett, Rivers,
Wentz,
and now this is the 5th year. Yeah,
wow,
unbelievable.
That's pretty incredible. And Reich is pretty steady with that. I mean, I think he gets the quarterbacks to play at their highest level, which for some of these guys might not be saying a lot, but I think Ryan can get it done because what's the thing that the Colts are good at? They're great on the offensive line. If they can keep Ryan upright, Ryan will be okay. He'll be maybe better than okay with Taylor running the ball. I have to take the Colts to win this division.
That's the thing. I mean, we could say, oh, you guys are just fantasy nerds, but who could win a game out of any team in this division? If you pick a player to actually take over games, it's Jonathan Taylor, right? So that alone could be the difference. What it does. I mean, they both play good defense. Colts and Titans offensive lines are okay. They run the ball. Taylor or Henry, pick your poison. I think it's Taylor by a hair. Speaking of Harry, guys, Harry, you like the Colts also.
Yeah, I mean, Sal, you mentioned aside from the offense, but defensively, third in the NFL last year with 19 picks. Like you mentioned, they had Stephon Gilmore to increase on that total. But offensively, I just think overall, I think, like I said, 10 wins. They win the division maybe by 1 over Tennessee. I give the nod for Ryan over Tannehill. I give Taylor the nod over Henry. And because, Darren, like you mentioned, Robert Woods coming back from injury last year, solid receiver with the Rams, but not so sure how it's going to work out with not a lot of great receivers in Tennessee. I give Pittman the nod over Woods here too, so I'm taking the Colts for the division.
Ugh. I mean, they don't even calculate the wide receivers in that analysis. Yeah. I know. Bri, in a way, if it's a coin flip up top, why not take the Titans plus 170?
That's exactly how I feel, right? If you think they're pretty much even, right, I'd much rather take the Titans at plus 170, who's proved it a little bit more, right, over the last few years. I mean, the fact that they were 12-5 last year is pretty incredible. I mean, at first I was thinking I liked the Colts. I should like the Colts more. But you know, the Colts had to deal with injuries last year, inconsistent play with Wentz, but I don't know. Matt Ryan's he's been getting a little bit worse each season. Sure, you could say, you know, it's an upgrade, but he too makes the wrong play at the wrong time. He's screwed us multiple times. And while losing AJ Brown is bad for the Titans, this team is built on, you know, physicality, right? I mean, the Titans, so like if Woods can give you 65% of what Brown was giving you, you know, Treylon Burks, you know, if he's, you know, decent, I trust Vrabel, you know, because it's the same thing, right? Every year he's dealing with like the same type of team that he gets a lot out of his guys. So I think just at plus 170, I'd prefer to take that for two teams that are probably going to be very close right at the end.
Yeah. All right, now let's take our miscellaneous props. There's just so much out there. You're not going to like this, Parlay Kid, but I think if you're going to take a swing at any of these teams, I think it's the Texans over 6.5. You know, we treat them like they won 2 games last year. They didn't. They were decent, and you know, to go from 4 to 7, we're picking the Jags to jump 3 games. Everyone thinks they're going to go from 3 to 6. Why can't the Texans win 7? Over 6.5 is plus 250. Maybe this Davis Mills catches lightning in a bottle. And like you said, Cooks is the best kind of receiver in that division. So who knows? Who knows? Maybe Lovey gets it together. Plus 250 over 6.5. Harry, you love this wins the first game. I don't know that there's a lot of value in these things, especially if the Texans don't win their first game in week 3.
I know, but you're right. You said I do like these, and I'm taking the Texans to have their first win in week 3 at Chicago, which you just mentioned. You like that? You like that for a win for them at plus 240. Now, the Texans open up the season against the aforementioned Indianapolis Colts, so let's give that to the Indianapolis. Second week, they're in Denver. We give that to Russell Wilson. Fourth week, they play the Chargers. So in the third week, they are at Chicago. Now, Mills, we all just mentioned, played very well, especially down the stretch. The 67th pick in the draft, mind you. In the last 5 games of the regular season, he had 9 on a bad team with no weapons, 9 touchdown passes to 2 picks. Meanwhile, before this even started last year, I told you guys how terrible I think Justin Fields is going to be in the NFL. 11th pick overall. Lost the last 7 games he started for the Bears. 58% completion percentage. In week 2, the Bears are at Green Bay on a Sunday night. So in week 3, they have the Texans at home. They come out flat, and the Texans get it done. Mills gets it done for Houston.
All right. Well, I mean, that's when I have their first win week 3 also. So I can't argue.
I will say, I think the Texan one's pretty fun. Like if you actually think they're going to start off really shitty. Right, like if you do think, I mean, they have winnable games, right? I mean, that Bears game's winnable. The Jags
I'm not supposed to look at the lines, but I did just glance at them. I'm surprised the Colts are such a big favorite. They're like,
but what happens?
Almost 9 points.
You know, they lose if they lose that Colts and Bears game. It's possible they might lose the first 7 games, right? It's possible. Yeah, and then you're talking odds wise, like 26 to 1, 21 to 1, 40 to 1 for their next win, right? Like. You could say week 10 against Washington at 40 to 1 could be like, so I do think if you think they're going to start off crappy or be really crappy, maybe you could roll with one of those higher.
Well, that's what they have going for them. They're a bad team. So yeah, you could look at all these games and and put a loss and L next to him. But
Hey,
I don't know.
Sal.
Yeah.
I can
Yeah.
tell you're having trouble with this. And I mean, just this division is like trying to pick a winner in a Oswego beauty contest. You just got
Is
to
that
pick
true?
one and hope for the best here.
Okay, you're right. Joel, you're right. When you're right, you're right. That's
Not disagreeing. Not disagreeing.
has there ever been a beauty contest in Oswego? No way.
Oh, can we start one? Can Harry start one?
Can
I
Scott
think
be
the-
entered?
I think the Morp, which is the backward prom, where the girl
That's
asks the
right.
guy, is the closest thing. And your brother was the prom king, right? Your brother Scott was the Morp
Yeah, I
king.
don't know. Was he?
I think he was. Yeah.
I think he was.
Didn't he win
yeah.
like he wasn't even eligible a couple of years? And
Didn't he
won. I
get
think
like a
won like 3
plunger?
years.
He got like a plunger, didn't he?
Yeah, he
Instead
gets
of
a
like
plunger, and
something.
they throw nickels at him as they did the dance. Now he's a little more sparing with the dance. He gets embarrassed, but
I think didn't they do
Yeah.
that when Darren won prom king?
same kind of thing. Yeah. All right, let's Brother Bri, you have
That
one
was
that
fixed.
we don't have to think about this one as hard.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm kind of going kind of chalk here and thinking Jaguars finished third place at plus 125. And the reason I like this more is because if you look at the Texans to finish in fourth is like minus 210. So unless you think the Jaguars are going to jump, unless you think the Titans are really going to regress and the Jaguars can jump one of those teams, I just thought that to me, I thought was more of a sure thing than anything. And I liked it a lot better than just saying Houston's going to be really bad at minus 210 and finish fourth.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, that's not bad. Again, I do think it's kind of like the AFC North where it's 2 tiers, right? It's I had the Bengals and Ravens in one tier and the Steelers and Browns in another. I have it here, although I'm not as impressed with these teams. And look, talent-wise, anyone really could jump up, and you could expect anything. I don't think the Texans will win the division at 25-1, but I do think it's Colts, Titans up top, and Jags, Texans on the bottom. And Parlay Kid, you've isolated it even more. Colts first place, Titans second place. What does that pay? Plus 150?
Plus 150 exact order for the top 2 teams there. So Colts, Titans, I think we've talked about it enough in terms of where we think they're going to fall. So again, kind of chalkish here, but something that I think is inevitable that's going to happen here. So let's take that at plus 150.
What's the other way? Titans, Colts is probably what, 190 or something?
It was, I
It's
think it
got-
is
it's
something
less-
like
it's
Well,
gotta
that.
be
you
less
know,
than
they
2 to
also
1.
Sal, they offer a few things. They have exact order and they also have top 2 any order. So
Right. Yes, yeah.
you can get top 2 any order is minus 230 for Colts, Titans any order.
What's
But,
exact order? Colts, Titans, Jags, Texans. That's boring, but I bet you still get 12-1 for something like that, right?
so Colts,
Titans, Jags, Texans.
Titans, Jags plus 220.
No. What?
Yeah, that's probably right, Sal.
Colts, Titans, Jags, Texans plus 220.
Oh, I'm out of my
Yeah.
mind here. Is it that much of a lock for those 4? Interesting. Plus 220. You get almost that for Colts, Titans. Wow, that's interesting.
Yeah,
All right.
that's why
Yeah.
I was like, I think I'd rather just take the Jaguars to finish third plus
Yeah.
125.
Right.
Yeah.
There you go. All right. Let's take, we nailed it. We talked a lot about the Texans. I got to be honest. I didn't expect to devote that much time to the Houston Texans.
I like
We'll take
it.
a quick break. Yes, but then we're going to get a real division in here, the AFC West, when we come back. All right, here we go. AFC West. We'll get to our division pick in a second. KC is favored. You can get a plus number on the Chiefs. Is it plus 155? I haven't checked since last night, but plus 155 that the Chiefs win the division? Are you kidding me? That's all they ever do. Chargers plus 240. Everybody loves the Chargers. My God. Well, people are going to lose their minds if the Chargers don't win the division this year. Broncos plus 260. And then the Raiders. Bri, I've been staring at this for months. 7-1. Never made sense to me that they're the division winner. That seems way high. And months later now, it still doesn't make sense. But let's go over the Chiefs. Harry, you got this too. 10.5 is the over under. Minus 115. So either way, you're good there. Boy, it's tough to bet against this team. I mean, Andy Reid, Bieniemy, Spagnuolo, got the same guys in place. Now, I know they traded Tyreek Hill to Miami. They got 5 draft picks. They added Justin Reed, the safety from Houston. They gave him $31 million. They had Scantling, Juju Smith-Schuster at the wideout spot. They had Ronald Jones at the running back. They lose Tyrann Mathieu. He's on the Saints now, and Charvarius Ward, the cornerback. Sorensen, Dirty Dan Sorensen gone too, Bri. Who did they draft? They got, so to replace some of these guys, they got Trent McDuffie, the cornerback from Washington. They took him with the 21st pick. George Karlaftis, the 30th pick, and Sky Moore. I don't think they're that bad off with Juju Smith-Schuster, Sky Moore, Valdez-Scantling, and McCole Hardman, who's okay, but at least he's familiar with Mahomes. You got blue chipper Chris Jones on defense. Their run defense was bad last year, 4.8 yards per carry. But if you compare it to the Chargers, it was worse. They were 31st in the league against the run. Really rough schedule start. But this is the thing with the AFC West. You could find any stretch in there, and they're going to have 6 miserable games. Whoever it is, the Raiders, the Chargers, the Chiefs, that's what it's going to be. Or the Broncos. You're going to find 5 or 6 games that are bad. So their start is at Arizona, which they'll be favored at, the Chargers at home, and at Indy. But Mahomes is 11-2 in September, and I think he's undervalued. And I kind of think, just in general, we have Herbert is overvalued right now. They have a bye in week 8. They're the first team ever to open their first 8 against teams that were 500 or better last year. That's significant. And their extra games are at Cincy, at Tampa Bay, and versus Buffalo. But I still think they're a good team, and I still think they're going to win 11 games. They're going to go 11-6, and I'm going over here. I trust Patrick Mahomes to figure it out, just like I trust Aaron Rodgers with a new offense to figure shit out. 11-6 gets me over, and that's still a regression from 12-5 last year. Harry, which way are you going with this?
No, you know what? I'm going to go under here with the Chiefs at 10.5. Offensively, let's call it what it is. They take a huge hit with not having Hill anymore. Hardman is far from a number 1 receiver. And in free agency, Sal, you mentioned they grabbed Smith-Schuster, Valdez-Scantling. They're okay, but also not number 1 receivers. Defensively, 27th versus
what
the
about
run
your guy?
last year.
Well, don't move on to defense. What about your guy, Kelsey?
Well, it's all gonna have to fall into It's all gonna have to fall into his lap. I'm just saying he's gonna put up I'm saying again, he's gonna put up the numbers, but I don't know about these other guys. Like I said, defensively, 27th versus the run, and in total yards against last year, just 28th in sacks. Sal, I know you just said you had faith in Mahomes. I don't know without Hill if Mahomes can save Kansas City, especially if their defense is soft again. Now, in Kansas City's defense, they have won at least 12 games since 2018. So 10.5 and minus 115. So if you want the under, you got to hit 10. It seems like a fishy line here. Now, look, I rip the big tomato Andy Reid all the time. So if he can get to 11, 12, win the division, hey, I'll give him credit. But with no Hill, let me see what Andy Reid can do. Let me see what Andy Reid can do without a big weapon in Hill. Let me see what he can do.
I think he's going to do just fine. I believe, Brian, you would know this. Mahomes had 4 touchdown passes in the first quarter against the Raiders without Tyreek Hill. There was no Tyreek Hill in the game, right? So he's sat. And
the Raiders secondary is the worst in all of football.
Well, they play all these teams that the
Raiders secondary got much better.
Mahomes makes everybody look terrible.
You didn't have 4 touchdowns against the Broncos.
All right. All I'm saying is they've beaten, I'm trying to look at their wins. Like they win games where they didn't score 40 points. Obviously that was their thing. They had 4 or 5 games where they won. Like I'm looking here, like they had 20 points against your terrible Giants, Harry, and they won. They had 13 points against Green Bay and won. Obviously,
3.
that was Jordan Love. What?
They beat the shitty Giants by 3 at home.
I'm saying they don't need to score. This Tyreek Hill is gone, but it's not the end of the world. They win games where they score 20 points against the Giants, 13 against the Packers, 19 against our Cowboys. Parlay Kid.
No Rodgers in that game. No Rodgers
22 against the Broncos. They win games.
No Rodgers in that game.
I get it, but they had games where they didn't have Tyreek Hill either, and they won these games. So I don't know. I'm not ready to bury the Chiefs just yet. We might as well talk about the Chiefs, Bri, because Trevor has listened to this. I know he's waited with bated breath how we're going to keep this Chiefs team. But
sorry, Trevor.
I just think like, why can't he make Sky Moore a star? Why the hell not?
Yeah, no, I like this Sky Moore pick. I don't know how I actually haven't been paying attention too much to him in the preseason, but I will say, look, Mahomes is playing preseason games. I mean, it's funny. You would think. I mean, he's obviously out there trying to work with some of those guys. Meanwhile, for the Raiders, Carr hasn't seen the field. I mean, there's some teams where the quarterbacks haven't seen the field, but Mahomes is out there, so he's trying to gel with some of these guys. So I think that's somewhat impressive for him.
All right. So now here's the one that this just seems like a slam dunk, and everybody thinks they're going to win 12 or 13 games. The Chargers, who are 9-8, the over-under is 10. The over is -125 if you want to lean that way. Again, you talk about fishy. Like, everybody loves this team. Everybody loves Justin Herbert, and they should. He's good. If you want to take him for MVP at 10-1, maybe that's a good thing. But you got Brandon Staley, who might lose them as many games as wins them with these crazy calls on 4th down, 4th and 9. They added J.C. Jackson. Defensively, they did great. They added Khalil Mack in a trade. They added J.C. Jackson, who's like number 2 or 3 ranked at that position. More importantly, they were so bad against the run. They have Sebastian Joseph Day, defensive tackle for the Rams they added, and Austin Johnson, the Giants defensive tackle. That's huge. They re-signed Mike Williams. In the draft, they get Zion Johnson, another offensive lineman from BC. They took a big risk, apparently, with the safety, this JT Woods from Baylor. They only had 11 interceptions last year. Like I said, they were 31st against the run. They're a weird team because they forced 19 fumbles, which was the best in the conference, and they had 11 strip sacks. So is that fluky? I'm not sure. Bosa was the best run stuffer, but like I said, they were 31st in the league against the run. Derwin James, 8 interceptions. The team only had 11. Looking at their schedule again, you could find just a miserable spot for everybody's schedule in the AFC West. They start against the Raiders, and that at KC week 2, that's a huge tell. Then they have the Jags and Texans in week 3 or 4. Their added games are at Cleveland early on without the Deshaun Watson Cleveland, at Atlanta, and home against Miami. So that's not terrible. But starting week 10, that's where it gets weird. They play 8 of 9 with a winning record, and the one that didn't have a winning record is Denver. They finish at Indy, the Rams, and at Denver. I'm going 9. Parlay Kid, you, everybody else going over the 10 here.
Yes, look, I consider the Chargers to be, Cowboys West when it comes to the type of team they are. They normally let their fans down. They seem to always have some star power with them, but they normally underperform. But man, the slander you just gave my fellow UD alumni, Brandon Staley, head coach Brandon Staley.
I don't know.
I mean, yes, riverboat gambler, absolutely. But maybe he learned a thing or two, went back through some of his decisions he's made. And I think this year, I think he's still going to take some risks, but maybe more calculated risks. Sal, if you were actually to look through the Chargers schedule right now, they'd be favored in about 13 of their games. And I know those things can change, but coming into the season, they'd be favored in about 13 of them. Adding Khalil Mack, overrated, but he doesn't have to be great on this team. He just has to be pretty good. J.C. Jackson is a great pickup for this team. They've upgraded the defensive line. They have a good mix of youth and veterans. And like you said about the weak part of the schedule, Sal, week 3 through 9, Jacksonville, Texans, Browns, Broncos, Seahawks, Atlanta. That's a 6-0 stretch right there. And Sal, you just talked about the back end of the schedule. Really look at it. Obviously you have the Chiefs, you have some divisional games, but you're talking about these teams with winning records, Dolphins, 49ers, Cardinals. Those are the type of teams they have on the schedule late in the season. This team's going to go over 10, Sal. There's no way around it. They're a good team. The talent alone will stand out here. And I kind of agree with Harry. I think the Chiefs maybe take a little step back this year, maybe a little bit. So let's go with the Chargers.
I haven't taken a step back 10. From 12 and 11. You got them over 10. Here's the worst thing about the Chargers, I think. First of all, whatever. You think, and Bri, how many 4th and 9s did Herbert complete in that week 18 game? Like, all right,
35.
Is Brandon Staley a genius? Is Herbert, does he keep this up all the time? I don't think so. So that's one thing. But how about this home field advantage? I'm looking at is home against Miami week 14. Like, are they going to have more fans? I know it's like a punchline at this point, but they were 5-4 at home, right? They're still a good team, and they're only 5-4 at home because this is not a home field advantage for them. When Denver comes to town, when Kansas City, there's rabid Chiefs fans everywhere. Maybe Tennessee, I don't know if they travel right. The Rams, forget it. That's considered a home game against the Rams week 17. So that spooks me too. That makes me not want to take 10. I will say I do have them going to the playoffs. I have them as a 9-win team, the last wild card. I have 3 from this division, 2 wild cards from this division, 1 wild card from the AFC North. I think it's Cincinnati. But let's go to Brian's Raiders now. Let's do it. Oh no, Denver's actually supposed to win more.
Yeah,
It gets me crazy.
Yeah,
This
let's
is
wait
nuts.
till
This
the end
nuts.
for
All
these.
right,
Raiders.
Harry, you're on this one. Denver 7-10 last year. Their over/unders 9.5. I don't know. Here's the thing: you can't scream too much about how bad these teams are going to be, right? You just can't because they're probably all going to be between 7 and 11, right? Like that's the range. I can't tell you Denver. I'm gonna be down on Denver here, but they're not going to go 4-13. I have them as 8-9. I just don't know why it's 9.5. I'm counting Russell Wilson out. I don't think, anyone who's had him on a fantasy team knows that his days of running the ball and taking off, he's not the same Russell Wilson. He's 34. They got 2 1s and 2 2s for him, plus Fant, Locke, and Shelby Harris. You got Nathaniel Hackett, who pulled the switch around. They thought they were getting Aaron Rodgers, but Nathaniel Hackett now is Russell Wilson. They signed him right away. They had Randy Gregory, scumbag parlay kid, right? Cowboys did everything for that guy. Oh, let him fall on his face again.
True.
Give him $70 million.
True.
They gave DJ Jones, the defensive tackle from San Francisco, $30 million for 3 years. Kawan Williams, they stripped San Francisco of all their free agents here. Cornerback right there, slot corner. They re-signed Melvin Gordon. He'll split with that Javonte Williams, I think. Right now, I know everybody's high on him too. But it really just still looks like a 50-50 split. They lose Bridgewater. They lose Kyle Fuller. The Baltimore cornerback went to Baltimore. In the draft, they get Nick Bonitto, the edge for Oklahoma. He had like a 93 pass rush rate last year. He'll be good in the second round. They got the tight end from UCLA. They're going to have an effective front 7 led by DJ Jones, who's a red chipper. Justin Simmons, the free safety, is ranked 4th in the NFL right there. They get a bye week 9. Their extra games are at Baltimore, at Carolina, and the Jets. Not bad. They open at Seattle on Monday Night Football. That's fun. And then have Houston. So they could be looking as a top team, right? They could be 2-0 going into where these other AFC West teams battle each other. They could be 2-0. They got the Jaguars in London and then Christmas at the Rams. But their last 6, this is where it gets bad for Denver. At Baltimore, Kansas City, Arizona, at Rams, at KC, and at the Chargers. That's rough. So you got to be, what do you have to be if you be in the mix there? I think they have to be like 7-4 going into those last 6. I have them 8-9 overall. I'm going under. And Harry, you're going over. So this is good. We disagree.
Yeah, look, I'm going over 9.5 defensively. You wouldn't think it, though, last year, but they gave up the 3rd least point in the league. They loaded up in the draft on defense, too, to bolster it up a bit more. And they just didn't have a leader at quarterback to get them over the hump in games last year. And you mentioned they had 7 wins last year. Now they do. Now they do with Russell Wilson. You mentioned Gordon and Williams, Sal, for a bad offensive team last year. Those 2 guys still combined for 17 touchdowns on their schedule. Like you mentioned a little bit, they have Seattle, Houston, the Jets, the Jags, and Carolina. And this situation worked, six, 7 years ago for Denver when Elway went out and made the deal for Manning late in his career, like Wilson now. And Wilson still 30-plus touchdowns, 4 of his last 5 years in the league. He still has it, and I'm going over 9.5 with Denver. I think they get to 10.
Listen, my problem is I have the Raiders to win this division. And so I gave them 11 wins. I actually have them the same wins as the Chiefs. And so in doing so, I have to give them wins over the Broncos and wins over the Chargers, which they did last year anyway. So it doesn't really matter too much. But Bri, let's do this. Raiders 10-7 last year. I got them at 11-6. Their over-under is 8.5. We got Mick Lombardi. We're rooting for him, right? As offensive coordinator. He was a quarterback receiver coach for New England. Josh McDaniels is in. I trust him right there. They bring Devontae Adams in, 5 years, $141 million for a first and second rounder. They bring Chandler Jones in, give him $51 million. He has a 90 pass rush grade. They extend Crosby. They extend Carr. All right, so they lose Zay Jones and Mariota. Who are some other big ones? They lost Nassib, Casey Hayward. I guess they lost Deshaun Jackson.
Hayward was a pretty big one for them.
Yeah. So they lose those first 2 rounders with the Devontae Adams. So they get Dylan Parham, the guard for Memphis. That's the one thing, their offensive line, right? That's going to be the the tough thing. And, Josh Jacobs wasn't lighting it up on the ground as it was. They got the Zamir White, the running back from Georgia, in there. I mentioned Sin for Ngakoue, probably on the losing end of that one. But like I said, defensive end, Crosby and Chandler Jones, nice pass rush there. Questionable secondary. I think they move Averett around, right? They got him, cornerback from Baltimore. Could be okay.
Yeah, their secondary has a chance. They were surprisingly, except for maybe that Chargers stretch last year, they were surprisingly they overachieved. I will say that secondary.
Yeah. So Chargers to start, extra games at Pitt, at New Orleans, and New England, not bad. And again, so if you want to look, their first 5 are the tough ones: Chargers, Cards, Titans, Broncos, KC. They get a little relief after the bye. I believe in Derek Carr. I believe in Josh McDaniels. I believe in Mick Lombardi. And I think they're 11-6 and they're tied with the Chiefs and then win the division. You got to go over here, Bri.
Come on. Let's root for the Raiders this year, guys. I will say, look, I'm usually pessimistic. I said this last year, but last year we both liked the over. Their over under was really low last year. What was it? It's what were we at? 6.5, 7.5, 7.5.
Yeah, I think it was maybe, right in there. Yeah.
But if they can't win over 8.5 this year, Carr has a lot of explaining to do. I will say this falls all on Carr this season. I know it's tough. You keep changing coaches, you keep changing this and that, but he should have a really good season. There's plenty of good. I mean, they have great weapons, right? And like you said, offensive line is going to be their question mark, right? But I will say they pieced it together. I mean, Leatherwood was god awful for them last year. Right. I mean, he could get benched. I don't even know if he's going to start for them. But they pieced it together. They ended up, they kept Carr somewhat upright like later in the season. And the most surprising thing I will say, their defense was pretty good last year. Like even in that Bengals game, they kept them in that game. That was kind of the best year they had in a long, long time. And a lot of that had to do with Crosby, who was just so fantastic. But Crosby's sack output should get better this year with Jones in there. The back end of the defense, it's pretty young, so they should be solid there. The one thing I will say with this team is there's not a lot of depth. So if they're going to need a little bit of luck to stay healthy in terms of like for a chance to win this division, they're going to have to stay healthy. But this is the one year I look at their schedule. For as great as the AFC West is, I look at their schedule and I don't write anybody as an automatic loss anymore. I'm just like, we got a shot to win that game. We have a shot to win that game. So look, the Chargers, I said this last year, and that's why I like the Raiders over the Chargers last year in that last game. For as much as the Chargers improved, and you got to like some of the moves they made, the Chargers do not scare me. The Chargers, as a Raider fan, I'm not scared of the Chargers. I'm scared of the Chiefs. I'm not scared of the Chargers. So I do think 8.5 is too low. I don't know. You could look at this division, right, in week 14 and be like, oh my God, everybody is, everybody's 8-5 or something like that, or whatever it is. But they do have a nice stretch somewhat in the middle. So if they can somehow get through that first game is huge, right? First game against the Chargers. But I will, to your point.
You're going to be scared, Bri, when J.C. Jackson returns a 60-yard pick for a touchdown in week 1? You're going to be scared then?
Maybe. But I will say, you're right, Sal, when you were mentioning the Chargers. The only thing I would say about the Chargers, the AFC teams, don't forget, you have 8 home games, 9 road games. They have the Raiders at home, which is essentially a road game. Rams at home, which is essentially a road game. So they have 6 home games and 11 road games. And then in those 6 home games, they might also be a road team, technically. So I'd say that is, the negative thing about the Chargers. Although, again, roster talent-wise, they should win when you look at that talent on that team.
Yeah, exactly. But, I don't know. I get it. They bolstered that defense and everything, but it was pretty good last year, too. And they didn't make the playoffs.
Yeah,
again, I have them making the playoffs, but
the one thing you have to remember about the Chargers, right, is injuries. I mean, they're right now you don't hear anything, but every year, right, a top lineman goes down, a top this goes down. It's every year. It's never not happened.
Injuries,
to them, so.
Weird coaching decisions, field goal kickers who missed, weird thing, right? Fans not showing up, so there's a lot to worry about. How about getting like 14 games at least out of Waller? Right. I mean, I think he played 11 last year, had almost 700 yards.
That
get
is
a full boat out of him.
I do like Foster Moreau a lot as a backup tight end. But that does worry me, right? I mean, Waller's got to be all in. I know the contract stuff. He's got to be all in this year. He's got to be looking to, to get a huge deal. He needs to play almost every game for them.
All right, I'm going Raiders 7-1 division. So are you? I just think that number is too high, and I think, like you said, everyone is going to be around that 7, 6, 8, and 5 number coming into the back stretch. So
yeah. No, 7-1. When you look at all the odds, I think, I think there's some upside there with McDaniel. I think just 7-1 just seems a little bit out of whack. I feel like them and the Broncos should be a little bit closer odds-wise. So I just think it's good value there.
All right, now listen, our friend Trevor is going to go nuts, but I have them both 11-6. Trevor, maybe I didn't read the tiebreaker right. I have the Raiders and the Chiefs at 11-6. Parlay Kid, you don't have either of those teams. You have the Chargers winning this division.
I have the Chargers at plus 240.
Yep.
Here, Sal, to win the division. I think they've made upgrades on their defensive line, especially in the interior to help their run defense. And I think J.C. Jackson is just a huge addition to that secondary. Huge. Love him as a player. We know what the offense can do. So, I'm going to roll with the Chargers, Sal. My pal Brandon Staley is their coach. Let's go.
Pal.
Let's go Chargers.
You got to get them to meet. You got to come out here, Parlay Kid. Make the introduction. All right, Harry, you like the Chargers also?
I do. Second in the NFL last year in passing. Fourth best offense overall last year. Herbert in 2 seasons. 77 total touchdowns. Eckler had his best season of his career rushing the ball last year. Had 12 rushing touchdowns. Williams and Allen. Great 1-2 combo receiver, had over 180 receptions.
Can we keep Williams healthy, Harry? Can we keep him healthy, though?
That's the secret, Darren. And you mentioned Mac doesn't have to be great. Just do the job you're there for. J.C. Jackson, 17 picks his last 2 seasons in New England. Staley, just don't overcoach. Let the players do it. You got so much talent on this team. Let the players do it. Don't make crazy decisions. 4th and this, 4th and that, like you blew that Kansas City game last year on Thursday at the end of the season. It cost you the playoffs. Don't overcoach. Chargers can win this division.
Yeah. All right, Parlay Kid, defense still. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
I think I know why Harry likes the Chargers so much. Because I mean, sure they have a home, but like Harry, they're always really on the road. So
interesting, right? That's true, Harry. Where are you now?
I like
he
that.
seems to be home now.
I'm
I
home.
don't know what's going on. All right.
I'm home.
All right, Parlay Kid, you're a big Staley guy, you're a big Chargers guy. Plus 240 to win. I can't believe they're plus 240. By the talks of it, you would think they're minus 650 to win this division.
But Sal, what a division though. Isn't it good? We just talked about that South division, right? This division is really the best in a recent memory, right? Like this
we can make any one of these matchups a night game for the weeks 1 through 17, and I'd be happy with it, right?
How about
Absolutely.
this?
Exactly
How about this, Darren? Chiefs don't make the playoffs, but Kelsey has his best stat season ever.
Well, no, you can't say that.
Could say that.
I think
Andy Reid without Hill. Let me see what Andy Reid can come up with in that head.
Harry, how many targets do you think Kelsey's going to get more than he's normally had? Like 50 more? Where's the ball going to be thrown?
All I'm saying is they don't have a number 1 receiver anymore. Hill is huge, losing him.
All right. Okay. It's big. I think it's bigger in the short yardage thing where it's like a screen pass on 3rd and 3. I think that's where it's going to hurt a little bit. But
Hardman's good for a reverse once a game, and maybe he has a catch for 27 yards. But he's not. Hardman's not a guy to go to. Either is Valdez.
So you're missing the guy who stretches the field like none other, allowing Travis Kelce to get open. But Kelce without
Kelce
Hill
goes hurt, and
it's
it's all downhill for KC.
Right, but how is he going to get open at a better rate without the guy who's has 3 guys chasing him? I don't know. This is a tough needle to thread here. But all right, Parlay Kid, finish up on the Chargers.
Well, so you want me to,
okay.
do you want me to
no,
make
I don't know. I felt like Harry interrupted you. I don't know.
I'm ready to make my pick. I can give you my division prop.
Give
pick
the prop
here.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Well, so Sal, I really like this one, and I think you guys could get on board with it a little bit since I like the Chargers and you guys like the Raiders so much. I'm going with the Chargers exact order. Chargers 1, Raiders 2 at plus 1,900 here. I know it might seem unthinkable that the Chiefs could fall out of the top 2, but I think it's conceivable this year. I think Harry's raised a good point. I think they're going to miss Hill more than they think they're going to miss Hill. I know they've played games and won games without him, but a lot of those games is when they're scoring like 20 points and winning games. I'm not sure if they're going to be able to do that anymore. I'm not sure. Maybe the tides are turning. I think people have figured out that Chiefs offense a little bit. Mahomes would still be the guy I would start. If you tell me to draft a quarterback, it would probably be Mahomes 1, Herbert 2. Right. If I was starting a team. But I just feel like the tides are turning in this division at plus 1,900. Chargers 1. They're Harry, like you're saying, it's Staley. Don't overcoach. Just stay out of the way a little bit. They're too talented. Their defense is upgraded. Raiders too, because like you said, I think McDaniel, in his second time around here as a head coach, is also going to have made significant improvements in himself. He's assembled a good staff. This Raiders team, Hunter Renfrow can get back to being the receiver that he should be, like a really dominant slot receiver with Adams commanding a lot of respect on the outside. Waller stays healthy. This team is going to be battling towards the end for this division. Chargers 1, Raiders 2, plus 1,900. I love it.
I think you got the right idea of something like that. I can't do something like this without the Chiefs in there because I still think we're sleeping on. By the way, the Chiefs are people leave them for dead 3 times. They change their mind about the Chiefs, and I'm one of them. Like, right? Won't their defense be awful the first 3 games, and then it'll settle down, right? For like 6 games, it'll be one of the best.
Yeah.
Like, they're just a very weird team like that. So I don't even know what they'd have to be for me to count them out completely during a year, as long as Mahomes is healthy and a couple of these pieces are in place. But I like the 19-1. I would do a couple of these because, like I said, I think everybody's in the 7-8 win range to 11-12 win range. I think all 4 teams. So I think you have the right idea with the first, second thing. I just couldn't do it without the Chiefs in there. All right, Brother Bri. So you have KC Raiders, top 2, any order, plus 650.
Yeah, so that's something that FanDuel offers that's fun. Like you could take KC to win the division, Raiders to come in second, which is 13-1, which is also good. Or KC Raiders either could happen. Raiders could finish first. So that's plus 650. I mean, look, I will say, for as much as, again, we shit on Kansas City. I mean, before that Cincinnati, before that debacle in the playoffs, they had won. They won? They won 11-1. In the 12 games prior to blowing that huge game. And, this might be the case, Mahomes and Reed might be somewhere, where Rodgers is still winning. It doesn't matter who's at receiver for him, still winning games. So, to me, I'm still worried about the Chiefs the most in this division. I still think they're going to be, to me, they're still going to be good. And I still think Mahomes is the best quarterback in football. So, but I like the Raiders, I like those odds. I think the Raiders, again, Chargers, Broncos, I mean, they should be very good. They don't scare me as much. So I'm going to take the plus 650.
Harry's about to wallop you here. And I think he's just doing this to get a reaction. But God, what's your miscellaneous AFC West prop here?
I am sorry, Brian, for raining on your parade with the Raiders this year and what you think is going to happen. But for an alternate over-under, I'm going to take the Raiders at plus 160. Under 7.5. Now, I think you mentioned it, Sal, earlier. Jacobs was soft last year running the ball. The whole Las Vegas team was. They were 28th running the ball last year. Crosby definitely on defense saved them towards the end of the year. The guy's pass rush was unbelievable. But overall, I think their secondary, I don't know. I think it's terrible. I think it's awful. They didn't do anything in the draft to address it. They've had the defense of the Raiders last year.
They didn't have a first or second round pick. By the way, what did you say about, like, you said someone else help their defense? They didn't even have a first round pick. What did you say?
Denver defensively loaded up first 3-4 out of 4 picks. So got
Denver
defensive
didn't
players.
Who did they? All right, go ahead.
I'm just saying, Raiders six picks for the team.
Denver's second round first pick was 64th. They took an edge rusher and then they took a tight end at 80. What do you mean they loaded up on defense?
It didn't really help the defense that way, did it? They didn't make any great acquisitions. In the free agency, they've got 16 picks as a team in the last 2 years. And when it comes to the schedule, They open with Chargers, Arizona, Tennessee, Denver, Kansas City. It could be a burial right there. Plus, you got they play the NFC for the year. They're a couple extra games. They got the Colts in New England. I don't know. Something happens to Carr. Good night, and it's under 7.5.
Okay. All right. So all right. No, none of these teams are good without their starting quarterback. I got news for you. But all right,
none of these teams are good when you only have 6 picks in the season.
I mean, I will say, I will say the Raiders. Again, the Raiders have a big variable, right? They could win 13 games. They could win 4 games.
I don't think they'll win 4. I really don't. Honestly, I think this is your year. I think it'll be poetic justice that you didn't have first or second round pick, and because you guys screw up the pick every year, so this will be the time you get it.
It's a benefit.
You had to take your picks away from you.
Second go round for McDaniel in the division. I don't know. We'll see.
I'm going for McDaniels. I'm going 4th place. Denver 4th place plus 350. That'll be my official one. I like Denver to not make the playoffs at plus 120. I like the Raiders. I like the Chargers and the Chiefs to make the playoffs. I don't think Denver has enough to get that first spot. I don't even think they're better than the Chargers. Again, there's a lot of variables here. Probably the win range is between 7 and 11. But if you look at previous years, Babyface put this up. The AFC West division winner, 12, 14, 12, 12, 10, 12, 12, 12, 13, 13. You have to win a lot of games to win this division. Ultimately, it's not really going to matter that everybody goes in great. I think Denver 4th place plus 350 is a good number there. All right. I think that was good. Now we just have to pray the Mets stay within 2 runs here. And we'll be okay. What are we going to do? Tomorrow we're back at it. We will have a winner. We'll pick from the cap of consequences. One of us or 7 of us will be a loser here. Mets Yankees bet. We got Walker on the hill. You guys are favored, huh? Are you favored? What are they? Minus 134? Oh boy. Give me a final score, Parlay Kid.
I mean, I think Brother Bri feels the same way I do. How much faith can you have in Frankie Montas? He's been brutal for the Yankees since he's showed up here. But maybe he's due for a win. Let's say Yankees win this game 6-4.
And then this bet is nothing, right? All right. Yeah, probably
and we
over 9.
Push.
Probably over 9 is the way to go. We'll all eat Reggie bars in the end. All right. So that'll do it. We will be back tomorrow previewing where are we? NFC, right? NFC East and NFC North. That does it for another episode of Against All Odds. For Spaghetti, for Meatballs, for Babyface Joel Solomon, and the Degenerate Trifecta, I'm Sal saying so long and happy handicapping.